The relationship between Beijing and Washington has been an important aspect of this American presidential election, with both candidates focusing on China. For a closer look, our Rochelle Akufo spoke with Dan McClory, the managing director and head of China for Boustead Securities. McClory began by talking about the present state of U.S. China ties.
Pretty precarious right now. And it's not all because of the pending election. So it's at one of its most challenged and frankly pivotal points from when I've ever observed it.
And so as we look, as you mentioned, we have the elections coming up, we're also in the middle of a pandemic. And then, of course, you had the phase one trade deal. So let's take it a bit at a time. Let's start with the phase one trade deal. What's been accomplished so far?
Well, not a whole lot other than what was signed in January. I think we've seen that it was probably pushed off to the side in favor of at least what President Trump regarded as perhaps more pressing and important issues. But that was done to get sort of a deal, in the books. But it really hasn't been the emphasis or the focus, for the last 9 or 10 months.
And so we know that China did commit to buy more agricultural products, and some people wondering, due to the pandemic, how much of the trade deal terms would still be fulfilled. What are you seeing?
It's interesting, Michelle, because initially that was the universal reaction. Like, both parties have made commitments, but we have this catastrophic global event. And even if they wanted to make good on that, both sides could easily make the case for being very, very constrained. But I think what's happened is, as opposed to that, maybe that was the initial reaction, but as opposed to that being the causal factor, it's really been the reordering of the agenda and other items that have, ascended to prominence on that agenda. And in the scheme of things, the trade deal is sort of small potatoes.
Now, I do want to look at something that has seen a shift in attention, and that is President Trump's focus on China's tech industry. And we know that this happened months after the initial deal. Why is that? And talk about China's reaction to this shift.
Sure. I mean, I think a lot of observers, especially from the West, would say the trade deal was really just a grease fire that was created in order to draw attention to more central issues, such as things regarding technology, intellectual property, free and open markets. And I think that's what's coming to pass here, is that we're actually seeing that was maybe the appetizer or the thought starter to steal everyone's attention and focus, but now it's quickly shifted to other things. So, I think the reaction has been, first of all, surprise, perhaps on the part of China. Wait a second, in good faith, we put together this deal, and now you're kind of moving around the chess pieces again. But I think in terms of what President Trump, his strategy has been, and what we've seen with, other members of his cabinet, like Mike Pompeo and others, that there's really bigger fish to fry. There's a lot bigger issues that are here. So I think it was met with surprise, and then it was met with action by China in terms of perhaps reconfiguring the supply chain. So this supply chain was, not sustainable in its current form, given the pressures on companies like Huawei and others. So I think China very quickly went to work and said, how can we not be as reliant on the U.S., which is fascinating because Trump's strategy here was, how can the U.S. be less reliant on China? And it actually encouraged a like reaction from China.